to Take Two Radio. I'm Pam, your host, and with me today, again for the second day in a row, yay, I have Mike as my co-host.
Hey, Pam, you haven't gotten tired of me yet. Thank you. How you doing?
No, not yet. Give us maybe about 30 minutes, and then maybe I'll shove you out. No, only kidding. And
Awesome.
that's only because of that remark you made about wearing shorts today while I'm cold in Chicago.
I know. We take spring seriously out here. Sorry about that, Pam.
Yeah. Should
Here
I
in
even
Sacramento.
bother to ask how many degrees it is today?
It's supposed to get up to about 72 or so. If it's any consolation, I'm in my man cave right now, and it's kind of chilly, so I am wearing shorts, but I'm wearing a shirt over my other shirt, so I know you're thinking big deal, but...
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Probably what is chilly to you, we would be wearing our swimsuits in,
Exactly. My blood thinned out since I moved back to California. I was in the Midwest for 10 years, thickened up, then come back to California, and, that's my roots right here, thin blood, and, 65 feels cold.
My relatives used to tell us the same thing when we'd go out there, like the very first time. Make sure you bring your jacket and sweater, and me and my family would look at each other like, what are you, nuts? And they're like, it gets cold at night. It's only like 65. Come on. You used to live in Chicago. Come on. You know better. 65 below, and we're outside with no shoes on, but no.
That's right. It's all perspective, isn't it?
Yeah. But today we welcome singer-songwriter Jeff Powers, and he is also one of the top 25 guitarists that you should know about. So welcome, Jeff.
Hi. I didn't know I was one of the top 25 you should know about, but, I remember now. Yeah.
I was going to say, you don't read your articles?
Yeah,
write about
that was
you?
a while ago. That was a while back. So I hope I went up in the rankings.
Yeah, I hope. But you have to agree, top 25 guitarists out of probably millions of guitarists in the world. That's huge.
Yes. Well, yeah. I would say it's subjective, but but it's nice to get that accolade. So.
Yeah, that's a huge compliment.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to start out having you tell our listeners how you first started in music and who or what inspired you.
Okay. Basically, my dad always put on guitar music for me because he loved it, and then got me a guitar when I was about 8 or 9. And, I didn't really take it serious, but I liked the guitar. And probably 5 years after that, it was that I heard Jimi Hendrix. Then I just, right there, I knew that moment I was going to do that forever. And it's kind of nice to know that. People tell me they're kind of envious because they never knew what they wanted to do. So it's not an easy life being a musician, but I never had a question what I wanted to do with my life or anything like that. Just carried that guitar around everywhere I went.
But have you been a musician pretty much your whole life then, full-time, never had to do a day job? Have you always been a musician?
No, in my early 20s I did all the crappy jobs you can imagine because I didn't take it serious young enough, to make a profession. I was teaching maybe when I was about 20. But as far as performing, no. I would do I was actually became a classical guitarist for a long time and got my degree in that. So during those years, in my 20s, I was actually learning classical music. And so it takes a long time before you're really a good performer on that. So about the time I was getting really good at it, I decided I couldn't do it anymore and start playing blues and writing songs again. And then performing.
Well, with learning classical music, did that help you make it easier to write blues?
It made it easier to write everything, but different, a little bit. My blues aren't like pure blues. I'm not like old-timey. Mm-hmm. Even though I'll, spend a lot of time sitting with records and learning it, when I go to write music, it doesn't come out like, the 20s, 30s, 40s blues or anything like that. So, and probably the influences of playing all the different types of music in classical. There's just so many things that I've worked on that those kind of harmonies and everything come out in my songwriting. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So maybe it's a little different than the average singer-songwriter. But that
Right.
was just an odd experience, kind of a weird way of getting there.
Well, when you write your music, do you write the lyrics first or the music?
Both, but in the beginning, I always did everything at one shot and kind of let the songs write themselves. But usually the lyric content isn't as good that way, for me at least, because it's kind of dictated by what I did with the music. But so now I sit down and I just read and write for hours, just lyrics, even nonsense, anything. and then later just sit with the guitar and something seems to always happen,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, what typically influences your songwriting? Is any of it autobiographical in nature?
Not too much, most of the time I would say I still let the songs write themselves, even though I might start with the lyrics this time. A lot of it, I would say, is fueled by anger and from things I read about in the paper, whatever controversial thing. I have one on the CD about the Kent State murders, just 40 years late, but but I happened to read a story about that on the 40th commemoration of that, and I just got really angry again and tried to write something in the style of Neil Young.
Yeah, and that's kind of in your neck of the woods too. I mean, Kent State, that's Ohio. It's close to home for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I could drive down there in a half hour, and sometimes I do go down there. But I also was influenced a lot by Neil Young. That was probably my next biggest influence after Jimi Hendrix.
Wow.
And maybe Bob Dylan, right in there. So, but
I read a review where someone said you sound a lot like Bob Dylan in your lyrical content, and that's a huge compliment because he's one of the greatest writers and singers there are in the world.
Yeah, to me, I mean, I have not heard a songwriter that good ever. As much as I love Neil Young, Bob Dylan, there's just something he has. But I got, I caught on to him later, and I heard mostly his songs by other artists when I was younger. So, and now it's like I can't quit listening to him even now.
He's a great storyteller with his songs.
Oh yeah, and even I've heard him interviewed so many times and asking him if he could still write like that, and he said no. He doesn't even know that guy, and he listens to it, and he's kind of amazed.
Really?
Yeah, that how good the alliterations are and the lyric writing. He doesn't know who that guy is.
Wow.
And he said he could never be there again. It's kind of a naive process, that got him there when he was young. Now he's a lot more expert. Yeah.
Lots of growth. Lots of growth. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
So what possessed you to take your classical music training and then go into the blues? I mean, that's quite a shift.
Yeah. When I was young, I took some guitar lessons with this guy, and he showed me some blues, and I always liked it. I didn't know much, but it always stuck with me. And then I moved to New Orleans, and I heard some. But after playing classical for all that time, I heard Stevie Ray Vaughan play live, and I'm like, oh, this is what I want to do. And then I just happened to move to Mexico right after that, and I didn't know how to go into the blues because I was teaching and performing classical music. But somebody called me up out of the blue because he figured if I'm a guitarist and it seemed like my name was American to him, maybe I played the blues. And he asked me, and I said, yeah. I didn't really that much, but I got in the band and I learned from there.
Don't you need to have kind of a blues name though, like Blind Lemon Powers or something like that?
Yeah. I gotta come up with some kind of disability here. Blind Lemon. Yeah. I have thought of throwing that in just for a joke, but I don't know. When I perform.
Well, I think Jeff Powers is a pretty easy name to remember for most people, so maybe it's good you kept it that way.
Yeah, no, it's an easy name, and it's easy for you to remember too.
Right.
But every time I say I'm a guitarist or my name's Jeff, everybody says Jeff Beck immediately.
Oh.
You know, so I don't know. He's synonymous with guitar playing, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's a guitarist name.
Now, do you have a band or do you play solo?
I've been playing mostly solo. Actually, I'm on my way to a rehearsal. I pulled over, and so I'm rehearsing this blues band that I had for years called Dead Guy Blues, and that I really haven't done anything with it for a few years. But we decided to do some gigs, or they're going to play actually on a CD release coming up for me.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, and but mostly what I've been doing is just a singer-songwriter, acoustic guitar, stomping on a tambourine, playing that 3-string cigar box guitar you were talking about.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. I'm totally intrigued by that. You know, I've never really heard of it. First, I thought, it must be like a Bo Diddley thing, and then I started reading up on it. I saw your video of I Missed My Ball and Chain, and I was thoroughly blown away by that. I mean, it's passionate, it kicked my butt, and you did it with half the amount of strings that you would find on a normal 6-string guitar. So have you gotten into that recently? I mean, what's the story there?
I'm going to I'm going to make a CD. I'm going to start about May, just playing that thing and stomping, though. I need that little extra percussion.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to play those things. I don't know how to explain it. 3 strings, basically, most of the time you have it tuned to 2 notes, and it's quite easy to play. And it forces you, I can't be too sophisticated or fancy Dan on the harmonies and stuff, you know, with the chords and all that. And it forces me to play more passionately. I love that thing, and there's all kinds, though. They have 1 string, which is the diddley bow you were talking about, 2 string on up, you know, and there's a whole bunch of people playing them now. It's getting quite popular. Well, popular in a small way, but yeah,
you know, it's interesting
awesome.
because I've seen different websites, and I've seen your video and a couple other players, and I would throw you among the ones I would call virtuoso on that, at least to my eyes and ears. And then I saw some sites that say it's really easy to get into. So I'm sort of a frustrated musician. Okay, we'll call it a non-musician. We'll call it what it is. But would something like that be easy for somebody who really doesn't have any musical background? If I want to pick up an instrument, would that be a good starting point?
Yeah, if you like, you're going to immediately sound like, I have mine cranked up with distortion, but if you don't crank it up too loud, you're immediately going to sound like some guy out of Mississippi, you know.
Cool.
And so you have to like that sound. If you do, it's going to be really easy to play. Some of them, the one I'm playing on, is you don't even fret the left hand. You just play with the slide because the strings are too high. I ordered another one, and I'll be able to fret it. And I think you might want a 4-string because you might be able to do a little more with it. But the 3-string sounds so bombastic to me. You know, I don't know if you know your guitars, but there's a humbucker pickup in it, and they're pretty tough sounding. And I crank it up with a fuzz face and distortion on the vocals, sort of like the Black Keys.
Yeah. Now my son's got an electric guitar, and he's into that. So he's got the humbucker, and he's got the loud fuzz tone distortion on his guitar. And I saw you play on the cigar box, and I thought you just sound like a monster on that thing. I just thought that's a cool sound for such a simple device. Yeah, no, it's amazing. And basically, all you're doing is playing a power chord, if you know what that is. It's a 2-note chord, because it's tuned to E, usually tuned to E and A, 2 E's and 1 A. So you can't help but sound like bombastic, like AC/DC or something like that.